Audio or video footage used in this video is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Horrific FX makes no claim of ownership and is simply using the footage for purposes of education, commentary, and criticism under fair use. Hello and welcome to a brand new Top 13 countdown on the Horrific FX channel. This is Kevin from Horrific FX. Those of you who do not know, Horrific FX, we specialize in special effects, makeup, props, prosthetics, and so on and so forth. Be sure to check out our website at horrificfx.com and on all social media under Horrific FX. Now on this video in our Top 13 Countdown series, we are doing the Top 13 Creepiest Clowns. Now this is Creepiest Clowns on television, movies, so forth. There might be spoilers ahead for some movies and series, so if you haven't seen any of these, you might want to skip through it or check it out at a later date. But with that being said, before we get into the video, I invite you to tune in and subscribe, and also check out all of our other Top 13 Countdown videos. So now that I've introduced it, let's get on with this video and count down horror's Top 13 Creepiest Clowns. Number 13, Gertie the Clown from 100 Tears. Now, 100 Tears is a lesser known horror film, but if you are looking for a clown that is utterly vicious and brutal, then look no further than Gertie the Clown. Gertie the Clown is a larger, overweight clown. His look, while I feel it's not terribly creepy looking, if you watch the film, you get a creepy vibe from him because he is just so utterly brutal. In a large part of this film, he carries this huge hatchet-type weapon, but it's not a normal handheld size hatchet. It is a huge hatchet. And when you see him and he does his slayings, he is just utterly brutal. This is a very bloody movie. So those of you who are blood hungry and bloodthirsty for your movies, this is definitely one to check out. So for number 13, Gertie the Clown from 100 Tears. Number 12, Killjoy. Now, anyone who has not seen the Killjoy films, it's kind of a mixed bag for me. The films are somewhat entertaining if you're in the mood for a lighthearted kind of horror movie. In the original Killjoy, the kills are very not the greatest, but I'm basing this solely on the appearance and character of Killjoy. What puts me off is the kills in Killjoy are very, let's say, computer animated, kind of a character gets shot by Killjoy. He actually shoots at Killjoy, and Killjoy absorbs the bullets, and then Killjoy the Clown kind of just spits the bullets back out and shoots the guy. And when the bullets hit the victim, they're just, you can tell they look computer drawn in blood squirts, and stuff like that just puts me off with the movie. But I do gotta admit, I like the character of Killjoy. A typical clown. He's not a serious clown. He's almost a Freddy Krueger-esque, making jokes and having fun with the deaths, although the deaths are very sparse for a horror movie, according to some people. But the character of Killjoy still, I think has a great appearance, a great look to him. the wild out hair that's out forever. It's not like a typical clown who might have like a mohawk or something like that. He's got clown hair that comes out of the side of his head, and it extends out quite a bit. And if you are a fan of Killjoy, there are several films in the series, so definitely you would want to might check those out. So again, number 12 will be Killjoy. Number 11, The Laugh from Amusement. Now, again, Amusement is an under-the-radar horror film. I believe it was released in 2008. But has a great atmosphere to it. I think it's a very underrated horror movie. And the clown, who's called The Laugh, has a really cool, eerie look to him. I feel he has one of the creepiest looks to a clown in history. He has a typical white face. He has orangish, reddish hair, a little puff of hair on the top, and long streaks of hair coming out the side. And he wears like a little top hat, just a little tiny one. Red nose, typical red smiley face, but his face is just so eerie looking. The smile he has, and it's just a real cool image seeing him when you're watching this film. And a scene I always remember in the film, the lady's on the phone saying how the doll is creeping her out, and the lady on the other end of the phone who owns the house is saying they don't own a doll like that, and it's just a real presence. Again, just the look of The Laugh is just so mesmerizing to me. I remember buying the film at a cheap place for real cheap, and just watching the film, and I was like, wow, how did this movie not get much more press? I mean, it has its flaws, but in general, the character of The Laugh is very, very fun to look at, and like I said, just definitely one of the creepier clowns on film. Number 10, Pogo the Clown from Gacy. Now, we can't have a creepy clown countdown list without having the original killer clown, and that is John Wayne Gacy. The film Gacy, of course, was a film based on the serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who dressed up as a clown and referred to himself as Pogo the Clown. Now, for the film Gacy, he was portrayed by actor Mark Holton, who those of us in the horror community know him as Ozzy in the original Leprechaun, and in its newer sequel, Leprechaun Returns, which was just recently released. Of course, he was also in the hit movie Teen Wolf, and also known as being in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And he did a terrific job, in my opinion, of portraying John Wayne Gacy. And again, just the look of Pogo the Clown. Of course, it's aided by the fact that these were true murders, and almost everyone knows about his crimes. But the look of Pogo, again, just so eerie. Real simple design, just white face paint, big blue triangles on his eyes that go from his eyes to the top of his head, and the clown smile was just a simple semicircle going from his nose to his chin. It was a huge red painted on smile. Nothing else. No other added features to it, but it just was so. It looked almost kind of like smeared on, kind of, and just looked really eerie. And I've always been a fan of clown makeup looking like it wasn't picture perfect, like it was almost kind of smeared together, which is why I was a huge fan of Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight, which I almost put on this list, but I wanted this to pertain to just horror movies and horror television. So that's why Heath Ledger's Joker is not on this list. But I've always been a fan of that smeared on look, and Gacy, it almost looks kind of smeared on, not all the way, but definitely had to put Pogo on this list. Number 9, Eric from The House on Sorority Row. Now, I am a huge fan of 80s slasher films. Probably my most favorite subgenre in the horror genre. And this is the clown equivalent in a slasher film. While there were other clown films in the 80s, House on Sorority Row was the biggest slasher clown film. And the clown presence is very notable in the film, from that musical Jack in the Box kind of clown that was in that little toy box to at the end of the movie, the room that they were in, like I believe it was in the attic, all the clown wallpapering and decorations in the room, to the appearance of the clown. The clown had a red and green and white coloring face paint, and had a whole costume. A lot of these clowns don't have, some of these clowns don't have full costumes, but this clown had a full head to toe costume, and even had one of those kind of like court jester type hat, the little the 3-piece hat coming out from on the head. And while I was a huge fan of the face paint, like around the mouth, I didn't like how it looked, but in general, I do like the appearance of Eric the Clown. And I thought it was a pretty cool having the coloring be mostly red and green. Mostly when you think of these clowns, you have blues and reds and just the red and green, even though it kind of looked like a Christmas clown. But I thought it was still a pretty cool looking clown for a film. Number 8, Kent McCoy from Clown. Now, this was a film. It was, I believe, it was produced by Eli Roth. It was in basically a sort of development hell for a long time. It was released overseas, and it took several years to finally make it to America on DVD and Blu-ray. The film revolves around this father who is going to be the clown cancels, I believe, on his son's birthday party. So he is, I believe, a real estate agent, and this house he's selling finds an old clown suit and decides to put it on and be a clown for the birthday party. Although it's I believe it was an ancient demon clown, and as he put the clown suit on, he basically starts to become possessed almost, or the clown suit kind of overtakes him, and he can't take it off. And I thought it was a very good premise. The film, although I said the film is good, still has some things that could be improved on, but I still think the clown was very cool looking. I like how subtle it was. It wasn't big eyes, a big smiley face. It was just very subtle, dirty, reddish kind of hair. The costume wasn't elaborate. The face makeup wasn't elaborate, but it was very subtle, but very effective to me. And the part that really sold it to me, as a special effects makeup artist, I've had to do several zillion clown makeups. And even before the clown movie came out, I always thought it'd be a cool idea to do a makeup where the clown nose, instead of being an actual clown nose, was just peeled off nose. And I thought of doing something like that years before even the clown movie came out. And then when this came out, when you saw that happen in this movie, I thought, again, such a great idea. I never knew why anyone didn't think of that before. of course, the classic scene is he tries to peel the clown nose off, and again, just the skin off of his nose comes off, so that redness from underneath the skin is his actual clown nose. And that, again, just something so subtle but so effective and works really well. Number 7, Pennywise from It, 1990. Now, as a huge Stephen King fan, I've always loved Stephen King's It, and Tim Curry was always the ultimate Pennywise for me. And I'll go more into Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise later, but this Pennywise, portrayed by Tim Curry, excellently portrayed by Tim Curry, is such a terrific looking clown. Again, real subtle features. Wasn't huge makeup on the eyes, as you can tell with the picture I have up on with this presentation. But he brought fun to this. A lot of creepy clowns, even though it's a clown, they're more obsessed with the killing as opposed to having fun. And Tim Curry's portrayal of Pennywise was just so over the top fun, with jokes and laughter and humor, in addition to the fear he brought, which was so wonderfully portrayed, and such a memorable clown. So many iconic memories. Of course, this scene where he's coming out of the shower drain, the scene where he's in the library, just so many over-the-top memories. And his clown, from the appearance to the humor he brought to it, just wonderfully a great presence to watch in a horrific-looking manner. Number 6, Creepy Clown from Zombieland. Now, Zombieland is one of my all-time favorite horror comedies, and I was so excited to see it, and I actually went with my brother, who has a huge fear of clowns. And when we were watching it at the theater and the clown came up, I just started laughing so much. And I thought this was one of the coolest looking clowns. Again, as I mentioned before, being a makeup effects artist, having done a zillion clown makeups, I've always thought having a clown makeup on top of either a skull or a rotting zombie would look so cool. And when I was in makeup school, one of the clowns I did was a clown zombie. And I thought it just looked so cool having the rotting flesh and having the clown makeup on top of that. And that's what this was. And it looked really, really cool. From the rotting flesh, you can start seeing some moldy skin on his forehead, I believe, and the nasty looking teeth, and then the clown makeup on top of it. It just, something about that looks really cool. And he was only in the movie, of course, for about a minute or so, but had a great impression, just a really cool image to see in that film. Number 5, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, obviously, this is a tie with all of the clowns. I couldn't label just one particular clown. These clowns are so iconic. Anyone who hasn't seen this film, I highly recommend checking it out. This has always been one of my favorite movies, and it's a movie that when you watch it, you can tell that the directors of the film, the people who made the film, had a blast and really enjoyed their job when they were making this film. The clowns were so cool looking. They're not your typical clowns. They're oddly shaped, weird proportions, but they have a creepy factor to them, the way that they look. You have small ones, tall ones, thin ones, fat ones. And the thing that I enjoyed so much about this film was the creative kills. You had popcorn, you had the dead bodies wrapped in cotton candy cocoons. There's a classic scene where one of the clowns puts a straw in one of the bodies is wrapped in cotton candy and puts a straw in the cotton candy to drink the blood from the body, and it's this huge, bendy, twisty straw. And just the fact that there were so many deaths that involved typical clown things, bodies that were trapped in balloons, pies to the face that were actually like acid pies, and just they really had a clown factor to this film. It's not like some of these films where it's a killer clown, but you have just the killer and a clown, and that's the only clown you have in the movie. The whole film revolved around the clowns, clown mannerisms, clown nature, taking place under a big top. So you had just the whole presence of clowns everywhere in this film. And just a great, terrific, fun movie to watch. Number 4, Pennywise from It, 2017. Now, as someone who is not a huge fan of horror remakes, I was really skeptical going into the 2017 It film, especially since I love the original. I love Tim Curry's portrayal, as I mentioned earlier in this presentation. And coming out of watching the 2017 version of the film, I remember leaving the theater being totally blown away, in particular by Bill Skarsgård's portrayal. It wasn't to me as humorous and comical as Tim Curry's portrayal, but had a much darker tone to it. It had some lightheartedness to the character Pennywise, but I feel he was much darker and creepier in the remake. His presentation, just little things like how he could actually have his eyes go one eye go one way, one eye go the other way. Particularly the scene with Georgie in the sewer at the beginning of the movie, just how much he just had drool coming out of his mouth. Just subtle little things like that really helped sell it. And I gotta admit, the look of Pennywise was really, really good. I think what helped was Bill Skarsgård's such a intimidating guy, especially compared to the kids in the film. I'm sure he looked huge to them. And the makeup was so iconic. That smile, that thin little smile going from the cracks of his lips up to his eyes, and then the crackling and the forehead. Again, just a subtle makeup, but worked so well, and had a real, again, just a darker presence to him than in Tim Curry's version. Number 3, Captain Spaulding from House of a Thousand Corpses. Now, obviously, this is from Rob Zombie's films. It doesn't really matter as to which film. I chose House of a Thousand Corpses because he's more of a clown in that film, even though he's not in the film as much as he is in Devil's Rejects. But in Devil's Rejects, again, he's more on the run, so he doesn't have the clown makeup on. And, of course, will be in the film 3 from Hell coming out shortly. So I chose the Captain Spaulding from House of a Thousand Corpses. And portrayed by Sid Haig, and wonderfully portrayed by him. Such an iconic character. Of course, the film is such a great film series. Not only Captain Spaulding, but Baby, portrayed by Sherry Moon Zombie, and Otis, portrayed by Bill Moseley. And Captain Spaulding was just so cool and fun to watch. That opening scene of House of a Thousand Corpses is one of my favorite opening scenes in a horror movie. So vulgar as you would expect from a Rob Zombie film, and wicked and evil. And just the scene shortly after that when the 4 people go to Captain Spaulding's roadside store there and go on the murder ride. And just simple little things like that. Again, even though he's only in the movie for maybe 10, 15 minutes of the movie, Such a great portrayal, and the clown makeup is one of the most iconic clown makeups in film history. Um, you can go to almost any haunted house in America in September and October, and you'll undoubtedly see a Captain Spaulding clown makeup. So definitely had to include him on this list. Number 2, Twisty from American Horror Story Freak Show. Now, the character of Twisty also was briefly in American Horror Story Cult, but he's famous for being in Freak Show. And again, was only in it for a small part. I think he was only in for maybe, 4 episodes. I could be wrong. 4 or 5 episodes, because he made a brief appearance on the season finale. But such a great character. Very rarely spoke or made noises until the episode where his backstory is revealed. And when he does speak, just a subtle little voice. It almost has an innocence to him when he reveals his backstory, but it makes it all that much more creepier. And before you hear his backstory, just his presence. Big, burly guy, that legendary, creepy clown makeup. I mentioned how Captain Spaulding is such a legendary, iconic clown makeup. I think Twisty is probably the most famous clown makeup you'll see at haunted houses and so forth. Even the haunted house that I do makeup for, not this past October, but the October before, we had Twisty the Clown. So I had to do several different Twisty makeups that year. And the year that Freak Show came out, as a special effects makeup artist, I had so many clients request me to do a Twisty clown makeup. And just that dirty looking clown makeup to the ripped scalp that he's wearing with the tusks of yellow, red, and green hair, and that mask with that huge black and white smile, and the whole clown costume just so wonderfully done. When they made Twisty as a character, they really made an iconic, creepy clown. Number 1, Art from the Terrifier. Now, this clown actually in Terrifier was, as some people might not know, was in the film All Hallows Eve. But I'm going to focus on his portrayal in the movie Terrifier. Anyone who has not seen this film, this is a terrific film. I liked it a lot. I will say, though, it is a very bloody, gory film. And that's why I place Art as the creepiest clown. First off, he is extremely brutal. Anyone who has seen the film, again, as I mentioned before, spoilers, there is a scene, if you haven't seen the film, where he has a girl hanging nude upside down, and he, from crotch through the skull, saws her in half in a very bloody, gory scene. And the kills weren't the most creative, but were very effective and brutal, and had some memorable scenes that just made him creepy. His appearance in the film is just so creepy looking. As you'll see in the picture, it's just black and white, no other colors. But I think it worked really well just being black and white. So when he does kill someone, you get that blood splatter. That red really pops on his costume and his makeup. And the subtle makeup on the face is just terrific. As you can see in the picture, white with just a little black around the eyes, little semicircle eyebrows, and just the rotted teeth, again, pop with that white. And just looks really, really cool. And just other stuff in the film, like a scene where he has killed a woman and cut off her chest and was wearing it with her face and scalp. And the way he moved and kind of danced around as he was stalking a killer, it just really had an eerie feeling to it and really worked really well. And a terrific film. I liked it very much. And the presence, just the look of the character of Art and the brutalness, just the fact he, like anyone who's seen the film, somewhat near the beginning of the film, yeah, these two girls are in a pizza place eating, and Art comes in carrying a garbage bag, and it's like you don't know what's in the bag, but you kind of know. And then shortly after, he gets kicked out of the restaurant for something he did in the bathroom. When you find out what he did, it just adds to the fact, oh, this is not the greatest of guys. And such an presence, and definitely recommend the film, and definitely would put Art as the creepiest clown in horror. Well, that will wrap up this countdown of Horrific Effects top 13 creepiest clowns. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you liked it, please subscribe, and be sure to check out all of our other previous top 13 countdown videos. Try to do a new one each and every month. If you have any ideas for future top 13 countdowns you'd like me to make a presentation of, please feel free to contact me. And be sure to check out horrificfx.com and all social media, searching for Horrific Effects. So with that being said, be sure to keep checking back.